Hi, everybody. This is Penny from Wacko Astrology, and today we are here with part 2 of the Pick a Card series about your fighting style. Now, I decided to do this because there's a lot of different ways we fight. Some of it's very spiritual. Sometimes it's about actually arguing with someone, which is what this is about verbal altercations, kind of social fights that we get into. And then the final video is going to be about physical fighting, which is in modern day time definitely the least common form of fighting, but still important to know. So we are going to go ahead and get started over here with card number 1, and then we're going to move all the way down here to card number 6. Go ahead and let the cards guide you. Decide which card is your card for today. That being said, we are going to get started with card number 1. And you guys got the Page of Wands. So this is telling me that you don't necessarily go after verbal altercations. You don't try to start fights or start arguments with people, but you also don't back down from them. You have kind of almost a happy-go-lucky attitude. You're kind of fair-hearted about things, and you like the opportunity to be able to learn and to be able to challenge people. Now, in challenging people intellectually, you are looking for something to learn, but you are also looking to see on an ego level, which I know sometimes we talk about ego like it's this horrible thing that we just all need to get rid of. And I mean, to some extent, that might be true, but there's a balance with everything. Everything serves its purpose. So you do have like a little bit of an ego desire to be able to prove yourself and to be able in that challenge to be able to find yourself a little bit more. So it's not just all about the gratification. You're someone who kind of likes to be able to explore topics in a way that to you is fun. Like if there's something I don't yet understand, please give me the chance to actually be able to discover it. So obviously there are very polite ways of being able to go about this. Like I just described, hey, if I don't know something, please do inform me. I am interested in hearing about it. But then there are also more aggressive ways in going after it. And that would be the kind of person who says things like, it's basically just a different wording, like down talking people, making it sound like they're not as intelligent. And I don't feel like it's necessarily that you're trying to make people feel bad about themselves. Sometimes your passion just turns into aggression, and then you start to come across as being a little bit more insulting when you challenge them, because you might challenge them in a way that sounds like it's being insulting, because you are looking to be able to learn something new, and you can get a little bit pushy in that. You want to motivate them. But yeah, that is how you fight. It can come across as aggressive. For the most part, it is well-intended, and it's basically saying that you want to be able to learn something new in a fun way and be able to interact with other people. But those other people might not always understand your methods of fighting. Next, we have card number 2. And this is the 5 of Cups. All right, so this is saying that you might really, really, really not like arguing with people. And you might feel that you don't necessarily know how to avoid it at times. So instead of engaging in it, you might just be like, hey, I'm really upset. I don't feel like I can handle this right now. And you try to find a way to just totally shut the argument down so that you don't actually have to engage in it. So that's kind of your verbal fighting style. It's the, I would rather not. And, if you proceed, I'm just going to let you know how upset I am and how terrible I think things are until you stop. So the bad thing about this is, well, first of all, the good thing is that most people will actually stop, because most people have a conscience and most people do not like making others miserable. But then there's some people, like specifically if you're dealing with, I wanted to say if you're younger, but heck, adults do this too. If you're dealing with someone who's essentially a bully or a narcissist or sociopath who likes seeing that they've actually upset someone, who, likes being a bully, then that's when you're going to start to have problems, because this is not going to work on them. And you're going to have to turn around and find your self-esteem, find your ability to stand up for yourself. And it might take like it took a while for you to find it. It might take a while, like it might feel like you've taken a while to be able to grow into your confidence so that you can do that. But with time and with practice, you can actually do it. So it is important to learn to be able to stand up for yourself a little bit more, and at least get to a point where it doesn't bother you so much. You might feel like you felt pressured at certain points to pretend that it doesn't bother you, even when it does. But I think the mastery of this is likely in being able to find that balance in being real and still being willing to show that it bothers you, but then still also being able to say something clever and remain calm. In order to say something clever, you really have to be calm in the moment. I think everyone's experienced that at some point. When you get that moment of, oh man, I got this awesome comeback for what just happened to me 5 minutes ago, but it took 5 minutes for it to come to me. That happens to everyone, and it usually happens because we're not calm right then and there in the moment. So learning to be calm is really important for you. And then once you've learned to be calm, even in the face of adversity, you can overcome those tough situations and say something that is intelligent and is not necessarily mean, but that is still powerful and impactful and allows you to stand up for yourself. So for this type of personality, doing martial arts is incredibly beneficial, and it honestly doesn't even matter what style you do. Just do a style that makes you feel comfortable. And if you want a recommendation for which style to do, I'm planning to include the recommendations in part 3 of this video series where I talk about physical fighting. I also have reports on my website that I do that will help you understand your natural fighting style if you want that. But next, we are going to move on to card number 3. This one is the Ace of Pentacles. So I'm seeing this as someone who doesn't like to waste their time fighting, someone who would rather move on to something bigger or better. And at times, you might really try to just find the quickest way out of it. And you want to be able to pacify people. And sometimes you feel inclined to just give them what they want, so you can move on to your life and you can move on to doing something else. And it's basically because you don't want to fight. You have your priorities in other places, and you have bigger and better things that you would like to be able to do. So you are most likely productive and resourceful, and you like to be able to really get the most out of your days. You don't want to sit there arguing with other people. So I'm seeing you as being the type who you might even be willing to just tell someone they won, not because they actually did win, but because you don't care as much as they do. You would rather just be able to move on and do something else with your day. It's essentially what I'm getting from this. And card number 4, we got the Page of Swords. So this means you have a very, very strong desire to learn. You're very talkative, very inquisitive, and you love to pick people's brains. And that's something that could even cause fighting, because other people don't always understand your fascination with learning. They don't always understand why you're asking all of the questions that you are asking. But when it comes to actually fighting with people, given that you are someone who is so good at acquiring information about others, it does allow you to pack a pretty powerful punch when it comes to verbal altercations, because you know things, you've observed, you've collected information, not just about topics that you might be fighting about, but also people that you might be fighting with. And that ability to be inquisitive makes you ultimately intelligent, and then you're able to use that to your advantage when it does come to an actual verbal altercation. So you're someone who might attract a lot of fighting, more so on accident, but you are pretty proficient in the art of slinging words back and forth because of that. All right, card number 5. We have the 4 of Swords. So this is saying you're someone who really needs a lot of time to be able to process things. You don't want to have to move at your full speed. You don't want to have to go 180 in an argument with someone all the freaking time. And it's not because you're not capable of it. It's just because it's exhausting. And maybe in your younger days, you were more pugnacious. You love to fight people. If you're already fairly young, this could be like in a past life, you used to fight with people constantly, but now you've come to the realization that you need to chillax every now and then. You need to take a moment of rest. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to come back and hit them with a little something, something later. But you want all of your blows in a verbal altercation to be worth your time and worth your energy. So you're someone who might need to take like a big step back and just wait, go relax, go recenter yourself, and go live your life for a little bit. And then when that person comes back again, because they didn't know any better, you're ready to really hit them with a serious insult or a serious moment of realization and why they shouldn't have messed with you. Why should they have not been so rude and disrespectful? So this is showing like a good degree of wisdom and a good degree of maturity when it comes to fighting, and also an unwillingness to waste time and waste energy, but a preference for being effective. So good for you. Next, we have card number 6. So we got the card of actual, literal fighting in this one. So this is probably the single most pugnacious card that we have gotten in this little like 6-card series so far. This shows that you are someone who kind of likes to ruffle feathers. You are someone who likes to stir things up. And sometimes you do have actions that result in fighting. And it might not be bad intentioned right there from the get-go, but you say things that tend to ruffle feathers. You say things that tend to really get people going. And when you fight with people verbally, one thing that's confusing is that your intentions are not usually very clear. People might be wondering, what are they actually trying to accomplish? Or they just get distracted because it's like basically turned into a mosh pit and there's fighting going on with other various people around you. And it's not just that you're fighting with one person, it's that everybody's now suddenly fighting with everybody. You're that person, you just have whether it be bad luck or good luck, you just say the right thing, or rather the wrong thing, and you know how to really get people riled up. So I feel like I'm remembering like these cartoons and stuff where people need to intentionally start prison riots. You'd be the person who would know how to intentionally start a prison riot and really be able to get people going. So the thing about this is you are actually fairly difficult to figure out as a person. People don't know your intentions. They don't know why you said the things that you said. And they a lot of times are distracted enough that they don't even really bother to ask themselves why you said what you said. So a moment of frustration for you here is that you might feel like people don't understand you. You might feel like people just always take things the wrong way, regardless of whether or not you meant it to be that way. But this can be translated as a sense of a verbal sparring match, and it's to figure things out and being able to learn something new about yourself, learn something new about the people around you, and just really take in that experience and understand what it means in the grand scheme of things. So that is essentially what this card means. It could also potentially be interpreted as maybe you prefer physical fighting. I don't think that's the case for most people who got this card, but it's another potential explanation. Anyway, thank you again for watching my video. Links are in the description below if you want to follow my website or Instagram, Facebook, anything like that. And I hope to see you again soon. Bye.